Hi everyone, this is Kai coming to you from the Art Lab, and I have a little technique to share with you today about how to use really bold colors and be able to tone them down to match your project. One thing that I learned when I did my Copic certification was that crafters tend to, especially with a new product, crafters tend to gravitate towards those colors that are more neutral, so that they can control the saturation and intensity, because they're a little bit hesitant to really go out there with a bold color. And I want to be able to give you the confidence to be able to use bold colors and know that you have a fallback in case they come out more intense than you intend them to. For today's technique, I'll be using some distress pads. I have this distress ink in Festive Berries and in Salty Ocean. And then I'm also going to show the same technique or similar technique with using the distress stains. And this is Mowed Lawn and Picked Raspberry. You're also going to need a little bit of water, some acrylic white paint, and this can be even the Apple Barrel or similar brands. You don't have to go all fancy and expensive for this. And then another option is to use gesso, and I'm using the Art Alternatives gesso, which I really like. And then I also have a credit card and an inexpensive 1-inch brush. So let's get started. My first example is going to be with the distress inks, and I'm going to just do the direct to craft sheet and apply a liberal amount, and then I'm going to go near that and put in some of the Salty Ocean. Another thing that's good to have is a spray bottle. This says peroxide, but it's water right now. And just mist over that, because distress inks and distress stains are water reactive. Now I'm going to just drag my paper through there, and you can see you get a really nice coverage. This is 80-pound white cardstock from Gina K Designs. Now, I've absorbed most of this color, so let me just wipe down my surface area. Now, I like to dry mine in between, just because the paper can sometimes get soft if you do too much to it while it's wet all at the same time. And it doesn't have to be completely dry. I just want it to be dry enough so that I don't tear the paper. Now, this is where the fun comes in. You take your gesso and you just scoop some out with a credit card like this. And you can make it as thick or as thin as you want. If your color is really too much for you, you might want to put on a thicker coat, or go back and do 2 applications. So I like to do mine fairly thin, because I want to be able to see my ink through it. Now, let me just lift this corner up, and then I'm going to wipe this down just to get rid of the residue of the gesso. Once again, I like to dry it, and you can see right away how soft those colors get to be. Now, if you don't like it, if you think it's covered it up too much, you can go back and apply a second layer. You can work with this as much as you want. So let me show you a second layer. Again, I'm going in with my Salty Ocean and my Picked Raspberry. A little bit of water, and back we go. And you can see now how those layers of color can build up. And it's a really great tool too to use if you really want to get some depth to your background. But when you coat it with the gesso, like I have here in this sample, you can really soften it down and stamp over it with any solid image or even line art if you want. The thing to be careful with though, when you've used gesso or even acrylic paint, your Copic markers and your other markers that are alcohol based, that gesso and acrylic paint will get really gummed up into these fibers. So you kind of have to watch it. If you're going to color over the gesso, I recommend that you do it very quickly without much pressure so that you don't ruin your nib. Okay, so I think you see kind of how that is coming out. Here, let me set it back here again so you can see it. And that's 2 layers of Distress ink with a layer of gesso in between. Now, let's look at how this is when you use the Distress stains. And this time I'm going to go direct to paper. And here is a sheet. So you can do this by spritzing your paper first with some water and then go in with your stain and just, you know, move it around. Okay, that was the mowed lawn, and now I'm going to go in with some of this picked raspberry. And don't be afraid of it, you know, get in there and use it. Like I said, this is a backup plan for you so you don't feel like you're going to waste anything. Now, instead of gesso this time, I'm going to show you how to do this with a little bit of acrylic ink or acrylic paint and just water. So you just wet your brush and then work it in to the gesso or to the acrylic paint until it's to the consistency that you like, and just paint it on. And the more water you add, the more transparent the paint will be, and the better your colors will show through. And you'll notice I didn't bother to wait to dry that stain in between. So you can do it fairly quickly. And you get similar results between the two. And if your paper starts to curl, just heat it from the back side and even out the amount of moisture from front to back, and it'll eventually calm back down and curl right back. So like this sample, we can go back in and add more. And you don't even have to cover the whole thing up. Oh, grab their own color there. But you can see now you can control what you want. And you can stamp back over that and continue to build it up until you have layers and layers of color. Okay, so that's the basics of how you can do that. And I encourage you to scroll down and look at the samples that I will be posting below this video. And thank you for watching.